Good afternoon, Friday, April 12th. We're pretty thankful about that. Senate institutions. We're gonna try to finish up our language today on H882, which is our capital bill. Really talked before we went live. We're gonna finish language up today. We're gonna get after some numbers on Tuesday. Work hard through the week as we always do, with the hopes of getting this bill out on Friday of next week, a week from today. I think we can do that. And so we have with us our legislative counsel, Damian Leonard is going to hopefully lead us to the end of this bill today and see where we do after that. So welcome, Damian. Thank you.
Thanks for having me in. For the record, I'm Damian Leonard from the Office of Legislative Counsel. We are starting on page 24 of your draft today, which is section 23.
25 on our draft.
No, section 23.
I have it. On this one here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, you and I are in the same.
Oh, okay. Let me
Sorry, well, we all know.
Well, we're village of choice, maybe? Is that the
Yeah,
We have this passed, but
yeah, the as passed by 24 as introduced. Oh, it doesn't have the introduction language in the as passed by. Right, there we go. They're the same bill.
Okay,
They're the same
Okay.
bill, just different formatting.
okay.
Why the discrepancy, but it doesn't say introduced by that House Committee on Corrections and Institutions on that as passed by. So you lose that first quarter page.
I see, so we're,
But anyway, section 23, we're amending 29 BSA 152. These are the duties of the Commissioner of Buildings and General Services. These are 3 tweaks to the duties. The first relates to purchasing an option on a piece of property. Current statute caps it at $75,000. The problem is that with property values increasing, $75,000 is no longer what it once was. So this would change it to 5% of the listed sale price of the property. Which means that you hit the current cap at a property valued at $1.5 million, but for anything over that, it's going to increase the amount of money that the state could be offering for an option to buy. This was a change that was actually all 3 changes in this section were requested by the Department of Buildings and General Services. The next change, moving down to subdivision 19, actually this wasn't requested by the department. We just noticed that there was an update to a biennial capital construction act that just never got changed when we switched over to that about 10 years ago. So that's just a technical correction. And then subdivision 20, this is looking at what happens with unexpended project balances in different capital construction acts. So right now, with approval of the Secretary of Administration, you can transfer an unexpended balance from a prior capital construction act to a current capital construction act when the amount does not exceed $100,000. This would increase that to $200,000. And then above that amount, you need additional approval from the emergency board.
just
So-
a quick question.
Yep.
So does that mean from year to, like, this capital bill versus the next capital bill?
Yeah, so it means this biennium to next biennium. So for example, if there's something from the 2015, 2016 biennium that's unexpended, BGS could go in, and if it's under $100,000 and they need additional funding for something we authorized this year, they could bring it forward with the approval of the Secretary of Administration. If it's more than $100,000 currently, they need the Secretary of Administration first and then the E-Board to sign off before they can do that change. They're also allowed to, if you go back to 19, within the same section of the current capital bill, if the balances come out differently, and say you've got $100,000 authorized for 2 different things in the same section, one of them comes in at $50,000, so they've got a lot of savings there. One of them comes in at 115, they can transfer 15 over under the current law, and they have that power currently
And on their own?
on their own.
And this is separate than what the House does when they look at unexpended funds?
So those unexpended funds are usually what we capture in reallocations too. But it's similar process, just two different ways of getting at it, and this gives them the freedom to do that on the fly. When we're not in session and not in the context of a bill that takes 5 months to move through the process.
And do they track this? Is it tracked somewhere? It
I'm
must be.
certain that it is, but
It is tracked in
Yeah.
FSB,
Okay,
Financial Services Division.
okay.
yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have notes from some other time when we went through this bill saying that section 52 under section 152 under section 23 is supposed to be moved earlier in the bill. Anybody else recall that and why that was, if you still want to?
Yeah, so I made that comment when I did the walkthrough. And the only reason is because as we were putting these pieces together in the house, I dropped this piece in the order that I received it. But it's actually, we did statutory changes to the commissioner's authority earlier, so I just suggested putting this with the other change to the commissioner's authority, so that instead of going commissioner's authority and then a bunch of other project related things, and then back to the commissioner's authority, you just do it together.
So would we do that necessarily on the next version we see?
I will
Or
do that
for
on the next
permission?
version.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, so that. Oh, thank you. This is the detailed questions I like, also because that one was easy to answer. All right, let me catch back up. So the next change in subdivision 22. This is very similar to the previous change, but this is for use of the contingency fund to cover shortfalls. So another option that the commissioner has right now is if there's a shortfall on a project. You can use the contingency fund up to $50,000 before you need approval of the Secretary of Administration. This would increase that threshold to 100,000. So what we've done throughout here is essentially increasing the threshold for the amount the state can offer for an option on property, the amount that can be transferred from a prior capital construction act to something authorized in the current one, and then the use of the contingency fund.
Ready, we all good?
Yeah.
Good.
All right. That brings us to corrections. Okay, so this is section 24. We're amending last year's language on the replacement women's facility. The first update is changing the date for the site location proposal from this past January 15th to next January 15th. The second change is updating the intent language. And I broke everything out into bullets because it's easier for me to read and I hope it's easier for you. So in the intent section, we're providing that two new things. The first is that the site location, regardless of whether it is on state-owned land or land proposed to be purchased by the state. So that's acknowledging that we may be purchasing land. And then the second is we've set two criteria for that land. The first of those two criteria is that it has to be near support services, programming and work opportunities to facilitate reentry. The second is that it has to be in reasonable proximity to the existing workforce to facilitate retention of experienced staff.
Do you want to say purchase or lease, or does lease include purchase to you?
I think the plan is to purchase the land for the correctional facility.
That is correct.
Okay, so we would in lease,
Yeah.
okay? And then, one thing, or one of our takeaways from being at the facility made was that, being at a site that's accessible to transit was really important.
Well, it says near.
Yeah, near support services, programming, and work opportunities. So
I mean, you could say just near support. I just wanna flag that, because that was one of the important things about that facility, especially the, reentry facility, more important. It was more important to that facility than it was to the, corrections facility.
yeah, I'm trying to think if there's a way to. So the plan right now, as I understand it, the preferred approach is to co-locate the correctional and reentry facility.
Yeah,
Campus style, similar to what you see in Maine. And so that would mean that the whole thing would need to be near support services, programming and work opportunities.
You mind if I jump in?
Yes.
Hey, Everly, Director of Communications and Legislative Affairs, BGS. So there is a possibility that the site that we are looking at might not be on a line right now, but that we would extend the line to reach it. I just want to throw that in so that we don't, I would think that the language should not say that it needs to be.
on an existing line, right, oh,
Yeah,
definitely.
But I think everyone's on the same page of wanting it to be within reach of public transportation. Absolutely.
Yeah. I think we are, so which is one reason I was suggesting that we mentioned.
So I think the concern is that if you say it has to be accessible to existing public transportation. That you could rule out spots where they would need to extend the line.
Right, so we would do
So,
like accessible to,
yeah, what you
Land
could
or-
do is that you could say it shall be near support services, programming and work opportunities. And then either on existing public transportation or accessible by a future extension of public transportation. The one thing I'm a little bit worried about there is that if it's implied that they have to also line up the public transit before they can cite. Because that can be a whole process in itself, and I wanna make sure that you don't inadvertently tie the hands
yeah,
if that's not your intent.
no, I don't wanna,
So,
I
but
just wanna make sure that transportation is considered in the planning process, which I know it is. But I know these other things are too, and we're mentioning these things,
you
so,
can say in, reasonably close proximity to existing or potential future public transit services.
Would you consider like with consideration too, or something like that?
Yeah.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
I'm fine with adjectives, I would just like the noun. Of public transportation.
Yeah, I mean, we have public transportation systems right now that are having trouble staying funded. You know this better than I do. I don't want to promise there's gonna be any public transit in years, so. You know, depending on what people put their money towards and how sustainable such things
I think-
are, I don't want to.
I wanted to let Senator Harrison get through her thought process, and I mean, because again. I think the thing that we keep on bringing up over and over and over again, is what Maine brought up, is that, where was her mistake? The mistake was that they should have been 2 miles closer to. Public transit, so I didn't want to take away from your thought process as far as fleshing that out. But, and again, to your comment, Senator Renner, yes, public transportation has changed. What we're seeing now is we're seeing a lot of, and what we'd like to see public transit get to is not to have the fixed routes that run every hour on the hour, but actually get to where you actually call. And we're doing that now. We're doing some of those pilot programs in Morrisville where they're actually on demand. You call, you're on demand, so I just want to be careful that, again, and I think we were getting there as far as the language, that it didn't have to be some type of, public transit as we know it, to allow it to be, a site that could be accessed by public transit. And it might not be a fixed route, but it certainly could be that in that area right there, like in Morrisville now, we're doing it almost strictly by making a phone call for your line. So that's.
Yeah,
So I would suggest that subdivision C at the end, we can amend that to say the proposal shall consider. One, existing and potential future public transit services. Or the proximity of existing and potential future public transit services. To any site, and two, both co-locating. Facilities in a campus style approach and the need to separate facilities at different locations. So we can incorporate it into the existing language. Does that raise any red flags? Okay, and you'll see the language before. Okay,
yes, thank you very much.
okay. I'm so glad that we have people in the room who are Bounce ideas in here.
Guys,
There are moments where
It is
raises
helpful.
something and it's like
Yeah.
deer in the headlights. You just freeze.
Real funny.
Joe, sorry, dude.
That's okay.
Just again, I mean, as, council has just said, it's nice to, be able to go down through there, and we're making great progress on this, which the only one that we have skipped over is the forensic language, so we probably want them in like Tuesday if we could. If we could get that done, because that's gonna be the only outstanding piece here that we have, that we actually weren't able to check off our list or delete or anything like that, so. I don't wanna, yeah.
What section was that, the forensic section?
60.
Good question. Get back there.
Section 19, stop monitoring fiscal.
Thanks, Scott.
He's always there
Section
They didn't have the answer.
to get you there.
Yeah, and I have updated language on that, that'll be in the next.
Yeah, I saw that,
bill,
right.
So,
Right, he just said the dates on that, so that was good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
yeah,
I know we're looking for, you weren't in the room, council, but all we're looking for as far as on that. We're not really looking to change anything, but when we go to report the bill, we just have to be able to explain, because we will get asked a dozen questions about what is a forensic? What does that mean? Tell us what that is. And so that's why we just wanna have the people come in and tell us what a, forensic, because it could be, you watch it on TV, as Senator Collingwood said, well, that's what solves crimes,
That's what comes to mind for me.
yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. I'm like,
And so it's almost a misnomer, it's almost not even, so, yeah, we just,
it's a
all
strange word to
we
use.
need to get language in our brain to tell us what a percent, what it does. So, because we're gonna be asked.
Can we change that language at all, or is
Well,
that set in stone? Because the
Then next
average,
year,
the average
next year.
citizen's not gonna understand
Totally.
it. We can't communicate to them and we have to.
They are
explain it.
after we report this bill, I can tell you. So,
Alright, I'll trust you.
Talk to the judiciary.
great. All right, getting back to the women's facilities, section 25 of your bill. Provides contingent authority for the commissioner to purchase lands. In the event that the commissioner, in consultation with Commissioner of Corrections, is unable to identify appropriate state-owned site locations. The commissioner is authorized to purchase the land. Provided that the land purchased is in a location that is near support service programming work opportunities. And in reasonable proximity to the existing workforce. And so the one thing that you may want to consider here based on the discussion we just had is
Putting that same.
putting in something that the commissioner, if the commissioner does purchase land, the commissioner shall take into consideration. Okay,
yeah,
Considering our potential change.
match it up.
and then there are reports, quarterly reports. Beginning in July of this year and ending January of next year. To this committee and your House counterparts on progress in identifying state-owned property and if necessary, purchasing property for the facility. Section 26.
Before you move on, can I ask a
Yep.
question? There's just a lot of wording in this here, and I don't know if that's legally required, or can we just take out all this for significant level?
No, you can take that out. You don't need that. I would say, so, Senator Renner is proposing that, the language say that the commissioner is authorized to purchase land and then you take out from provided that. And I would say end your strikeout, it shall be.
Okay.
So purchase land in a location that is near support services and just eliminate, I think, 10 words there in the middle, so it's less wordy.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to me from an English language standpoint and readability, so. Yeah, thank you.
You could kind of say the same thing. Again, I'm looking at the same version, but then line 9 on the next page. That we're asking for a report back each quarter and end it with regarding the progress. And not go through the whole thing again and identify the data property. I don't know, maybe. Referenced above or something like that.
So that's just in a different section that we're reviewing all that.
I don't
know how these laws work, that you have to. Take everything just to do the section of the bill, I don't know, especially for.
If it doesn't make sense, we can leave it in, it just seems like
I think it should.
it's
be short too,
redundant,
yeah.
over.
I'd love to be.
I'm just gonna highlight this and say revised limit redundancy.
Yeah.
And I will trim things down.
Okay,
And can I just ask BGS if that July date is a little too close, or does it need to be pushed out a little bit or not? I mean, if not, that's fine.
Right, for the record, Joe Aja, Director of Design and Construction for Buildings and General Services. If it could be that it's being very short, we haven't found any yet. So, you know, there is, I think if you look at some of the reports that we had last year, or one-liners, you have a report on because things didn't change a lot.
Yeah.
It wouldn't bother me if it pushed to August, September.
Just trying to be respectful for your
That's
time.
Yeah.
And I have no problem with, nothing's changed.
right.
But the first one will have more than that, like this is what we're trying to do,
Well,
I would think. We do
Right,
need to provide
okay, we already
information.
know what they're trying to do, they're trying to purchase land.
Kate is very good at more words than me. I like short and sweet.
I like short, but complete. Okay,
I guess we're good for now?
Yeah.
Okay. Section 26.
Section 26 is the study of the potential reuse of the Chittenden Regional Correctional Facility site. Your counterparts in the Judiciary Committee have been working on a proposed amendment to this. The key piece of their proposed amendment is that they want, if it turns out that that site is not suitable either to reuse the existing facility or reuse the site for a new facility, they just want the report to identify potential new sites for male reentry facility.
That's kind of what we had asked for, Senator Harrison. That's kind of, we were pushing on that. It's kind of asking for the language. And I've been told as well that Judiciary is working on that language for us as far
there
as.
was 200 grand attached to
You know,
it.
we took the 200 and I'm fine with any, I'm fine with language. We'll look at the language when it makes the bill, but well, they know that there's no appropriation to it.
so we'll look at the language after Judiciary.
We'll get a chance to see.
Just happy.
After it's gonna make our bill, we'll get a chance to see. it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they're still working on whether to add a definition of what a reentry facility is.
Oh,
Some of the members of the committee expressed concerns that if we don't say what it is, and they do want to go with the main model. But Maine doesn't define it. And so they're concerned that if we don't define it, it could be anything, so.
Okay, good. So we'll circle that one.
well, we
and
should
we'll-
be defining it for the women.
So that's what they're talking about, is
Okay.
whether there's a definition of reentry facility that we should just be using.
For both. Okay,
Yes.
that makes a lot of sense.
So we'll circle that. We're gonna be seeing that again.
Who determines if reentry has a hyphen or not? Just looks funny to me.
So that is our drafting manual, does not use a hyphen in that case.
Okay.
I do understand that there are a large portion of the English language writers in the world who would put a hyphen there, but they've eliminated hyphens in a number of cases now, so. So section 27, the Washington County Superior Courthouse in Berry, not the one downtown here. This is authorization to purchase land as necessary to renovate or replace the Washington County Superior Courthouse. So it's important to note that there may be a need to purchase land both for renovations or for replacement. And so that's the key piece here in subsection A. Subsection B came out of discussions in the your House counterparts. Committee there, the representative from Barry was concerned that the interaction with the city might not be, there might not be enough consultation going on, and so the language was added here about consulting and providing updates to the city just to make sure they're looped in on the process. And that's it for that section.
Very good?
Okay.
And then the final section here, the White River Junction, Windsor County Superior Courthouse, they currently have leased temporary swing space in the office building across the street. And this states the intent of the General Assembly that the state's attorney will move in there when the renovation is complete.
You guys remember that?
So,
Sorry, Melissa,
Yeah.
now Melissa. Maybe about by Friday, a week from today.
Perfect.
Yeah, now I want you to please be available. Last time you missed out on it.
I know, I was so bummed.
Well, that's true.
Perfect,
you.
next week,
Yes.
thank you.
So you guys remember the presentation on this? They
Yes.
showed us where the two sites were.
Yeah,
Everybody was kind of stressed a little bit at first because of whatever, and it worked out pretty
yeah, it
well.
worked out well.
Yeah.
Minor.
Okay, is everybody good with this?
Still is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
great.
Okay, so other than a couple sections on this, that's the language on the bill, and, we'll see Damien's, final draft on that as we go. Any idea, Damien, as far as judiciary, when you might think we might see that language on that?
So
I can check with,
I got
Chair
an email
Sanders.
from Ben with next week's agenda as it stands right now. Let me just see when they've got me in. First thing on Tuesday morning.
oh yeah, that'd be great. If you
Um,
let them know that we're, gonna try to report the bill out as well, that week, and that'd be great if we could see that language.
Yeah, and I think that's the only time they have me scheduled, so hopefully we'll have the language Tuesday and I can add that in to the draft. Even assuming they vote on it that morning, I can pop it in the draft for that afternoon. If you guys aren't completely caught up in the numbers that
And
day.
it sounds like we'll be having, language, we'll be at least, having some communication about the forensics on. Are we gonna try to do that on Tuesday as well, the people on the forensics?
That's
But that's not what we're doing.
They've been invited.
Oh, you've been invited, okay, good. So we'll get that doing that, won't hold us up from doing any numbers, we'll, so yeah, we will still have plenty to do, but, we can do this, get the numbers squared away, maybe have Tuesday, Wednesday at the latest. Get a look on this thing, the final on Thursday. And, be able to make any tweaks and all that stuff and, get it out by Friday.
Great.
Then the fun starts.
No.
Everybody good with that?
Yes.
Anything else? Okay, let's call it.